Have you ever pondered the paradox that is the existence of weapons? They are designed to protect, yet they also have the power to destroy. This is the mystery we embark upon today. The paradox of protection and destruction, of safety and harm, embodied in the very essence of weapons. Weapons, in their many forms, have been a part of human civilization since time immemorial. From the stone axes of our prehistoric ancestors to the nuclear warheads of the modern era, these tools have been a constant companion in our journey through history. They represent the human instinct for survival, the need to protect oneself and one's kind from harm. In the face of danger, we arm ourselves, ready to defend, ready to survive. Yet, there's a darker side to this story. The same tools that we create for protection can become instruments of destruction. The sword that defends a kingdom can also lay it to waste. The gun that protects a home can also tear a family apart. The bomb that secures a nation can also obliterate it. This is the inherent contradiction, the paradox that lies at the heart of every weapon ever made. And therein lies the necessity for control, for restrictions, for bans. Over the centuries, humanity has recognized this paradox and has sought to control it. Certain weapons, due to their excessive destructive capabilities or inhumane effects, have been deemed too dangerous to exist. They have been banned, their use prohibited in warfare or any other context. But these bans, these prohibitions, are they not paradoxical as well? They acknowledge the destructive power of these weapons, yet they also tacitly admit their existence. They aim to prevent harm, yet they also recognize the potential for harm. This is the paradox of banned weapons, a reflection of the larger paradox that is the existence of weapons. So, as we embark on this exploration, let's keep these contradictions in mind. Let's remember the paradox at the heart of every weapon, the balance between protection and destruction, the dance between safety and harm. Now let us delve into the annals of history and explore the evolution of these paradoxical tools. As we journey back to the ancient times, weapons were rudimentary, yet their potential for destruction was quickly recognized. In the dawn of human civilization, when survival was the primary concern, our ancestors turned to whatever they could find or make to protect themselves. They fashioned crude weapons from stones, bones, and wood. The sling, the spear, the bow and arrow, these were the precursors to the weapons of mass destruction we know today. As societies grew and began to clash, the scale of warfare escalated. The Greeks, for instance, developed the phalanx, a tight formation of spear-wielding soldiers that proved devastating in battle. However, the Greek fire, a primitive form of flamethrower, was considered too horrific and was eventually banned. Meanwhile, in Asia, the Chinese were inventing gunpowder. Initially used for medicinal and mystical purposes, it wasn't long before its explosive potential was harnessed for warfare. The result was the creation of the world's first true chemical weapon, a terrifying blend of sulfur, charcoal, and saltpeter that could be launched from a simple bamboo tube. But humanity's knack for innovation didn't stop there. The crossbow, for example, was a weapon that required little training to use and could penetrate a knight's armor from a safe distance. This made warfare less of a skill and more of a numbers game. The church attempted to ban the crossbow in the 12th century, deeming it a weapon that allowed a commoner to kill a knight, therefore upsetting the established order. These early prohibitions on weaponry show us that even in the distant past, societies recognized the potentially catastrophic consequences of certain types of weapons. It was a recognition that some forms of destruction were too inhumane, too indiscriminate, or too disruptive to the social order to be allowed in warfare. As time progressed, so did the sophistication and destructiveness of weapons. As we move forward in our exploration, we'll see how this trend continues, leading to the creation of some of the most terrifying and controversial weapons in human history. From the Middle Ages to the pre-modern era, weaponry evolved at an unprecedented rate. During this time, the world saw a radical shift from the use of traditional weaponry such as swords, bows, and arrows to the more advanced gunpowder-based weapons. The discovery of gunpowder, or black powder as it was known then by the Chinese in the 9th century, revolutionized warfare forever. Gunpowder, a mix of sulfur, charcoal, and potassium nitrate, was initially used for medicinal purposes, but soon its explosive nature was harnessed for destructive ends. The Chinese were the first to incorporate gunpowder into warfare, developing flamethrowers and fire lances, early prototypes of the modern gun. As knowledge of gunpowder spread across continents, the Europeans began to experiment with it. By the 14th century, they managed to develop the first true firearms. These were simple handheld tubes that could launch a projectile with the help of ignited gunpowder. The first of these was the matchlock, followed by the wheel lock, and finally, the flintlock. The introduction of firearms drastically changed the face of battlefields. They were far more lethal than traditional weapons and required less skill to operate. The balance of power began shifting from the nobility, who could afford expensive training in swordsmanship, to the common soldier with a firearm. However, as the destructive power of these weapons became apparent, so did the need to regulate their use. The brutality of these weapons led to certain types being banned. For example, the use of crossbows against Christians was prohibited by the Pope in the 12th century. They were deemed inhumane due to their ability to penetrate armor and cause significant damage. As we moved into the pre-modern era, the development and refinement of firearms continued. These advancements were driven by the Industrial Revolution, which enabled mass production and standardization of weapons. This period also saw the development of artillery, which further escalated the destructive potential of warfare. The advent of the 20th century ushered in a new era of warfare and weaponry. The world was on the brink of witnessing warfare on an unimaginable scale, leading to the creation of some of the most devastating and subsequently banned weapons in history. The World Wars marked a period of unprecedented destruction, largely due to the advancement in weaponry. As the world plunged into the chaos of the First and Second World Wars, the art of crafting tools for destruction reached its zenith. The wars were characterized by a terrifying array of weapons, some of which were so devastating that they were ultimately banned from use. One such weapon was chemical warfare. The horrors of mustard gas, phosgene and chlorine gas, first experienced on the battlefields of the First World War, are still etched in the collective memory of humanity. The gases, unleashed from canisters and carried by the wind into enemy lines, inflicted unimaginable suffering. Victims choked, their lungs and eyes burned while the skin blistered. The aftermath of these attacks led to the Geneva Protocol of 1925, which prohibited the use of chemical and biological weapons in warfare. The Second World War, however, introduced a new breed of horrific weapons. One of the most notorious was the flamethrower. This weapon, spewing out a stream of burning fuel, brought death and destruction in the most gruesome manner. The sheer terror and agony it caused led to its eventual ban in international conflicts. Then, there were the biological weapons. Although not widely used during the World Wars, the potential for devastation was recognized. Anthrax, plague, and other deadly pathogens were weaponized, threatening to unleash pandemics that could decimate populations. The fear of these invisible killers led to the Biological Weapons Convention in the early 70s, which effectively banned their production and use. These weapons, born out of the desperation and cruelty of war, were a testament to the darkest depths of human ingenuity. The aftermath of their use, however, sparked a global realization about the need to limit the means of destruction. This led to a series of international treaties and conventions designed to ban the use of these horrific weapons. The World Wars marked a turning point in global attitudes towards weaponry. The horrors witnessed during these conflicts spurred humanity to draw a line in the sand, declaring some weapons too terrible to ever be used again. In the modern age, the potential for destruction reached new heights with the development of nuclear weapons. Born from the ashes of World War II, these weapons of mass destruction reshaped the landscape of warfare and diplomacy. The scale of devastation they could cause was displayed for the first time in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forever imprinting the horrifying reality of nuclear warfare on the collective human consciousness. These weapons, however, are not without their detractors. Global efforts led by organizations like the United Nations have pushed for their prohibition, citing their catastrophic effects on both humanity and our planet. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is a testament to these efforts, aiming to completely eliminate these instruments of destruction. Yet despite these efforts, the nuclear question remains unresolved. Countries continue to hold on to their arsenals, viewing them as a necessary deterrent. Despite their potential for destruction, nuclear weapons remain a contentious issue in the modern world. From the dawn of civilization to the present, the evolution of weaponry has been a tale of increasing sophistication and destructiveness. As mankind's knowledge and technology advanced, so too did the tools of war, transforming from simple clubs and spears to the devastating weapons of today. Perhaps paradoxically, this progression has often led to prohibition rather than proliferation. When the potential for destruction becomes too great, society steps in to say, enough. Take, for instance, biological and chemical weapons, the terror of World War I. Their horrific consequences led to widespread bans. More recently, the advent of autonomous weapons has raised ethical questions about the nature of warfare, leading to calls for their restriction. The story of banned weapons is a testament to humanity's struggle to balance the need for security with the desire to prevent unimaginable destruction. It's a complex, ongoing dialogue where the stakes continue to rise with each new technological breakthrough.